hockey. Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
And welcome into Judd's Hockey Show. Judd and Declan, and the season is finally upon us, at least training camp. The Wild starts tomorrow. You are looking at the screen right now. If you're watching us and you're like, okay, there's Judd, there's Declan. Why is there a blank space? That's because to celebrate the beginning of the season, the beginning of training camp, we bring in Wild general manager, friend of the show, as Declan says, Bill Guerin. Please welcome Bill Guerin. Let's get out round with Declan. Little round of applause.
Round of applause.
Fellow round of applause.
Thank you. Thanks, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Now, before we start, it looks like you've got a lot of cool stuff behind you, Bill. So is there any show and tell aspect that you would like to bring to our show? Like, I've got bobbleheads and pictures and stuff. Go ahead.
I've got a lot of great stuff. One of them's a picture of Eddie Johnson, who I was with in Pittsburgh, and that's him after winning the Stanley Cup. He's got a bunch of beers on him. Brian Trottier with the double birds to a reporter with John Tonelli. Me and Randy McKay putting beer into the Stanley Cup at a bar in New Jersey.
There you go.
And
Keep going.
I had a beer can collection when I was a kid.
Okay.
And I don't know why I ever got rid of it. I had such great cans, but this was one of them, and I found it. I was at an antique store with my wife, and I found this. And people our age will know what it is.
Yes.
And it's Billy beer from Jimmy Carter's brother, Billy Carter. And,
I remember.
It was pretty well known back then, so I found it. And I actually have one here and one at home. Anytime I see one, I buy it. Very
nice. Bill, as I recall, he was quite the character. Billy, correct?
Yeah.
I remember him being a character.
Was like, just kind of like a good old boy from Georgia, beer drinking and lots of fun, and seemed like a great guy.
That sounds like a hockey guy to me, is what that sounds like. That sounds like a guy who would fit well in the hockey world.
I'm Googling him right now. I don't know if that guy would fit in as a hockey player. Not really too sure.
I think Bill froze for a second.
I did. I froze for a second.
But you're back now. All right. So after our show and tell display, let's start with this. Training camp obviously starts tomorrow, which is Thursday. We're recording this on Wednesday. What has been, is it done yet? And if it has been done, or what will the Bill Guerin training camp speech be? Because I feel like that has set the precedent of really a great tone. A couple of years ago, you asked Spurgeon, he's like, hard work and having fun, and you're like, F that. Last year, he sort of got it. So have you given the speech yet? And what's the tone this year?
It's already done.
Okay.
Oh.
It's already done. It's already been given. A little different approach at the start, but more of the same messaging. But you'll just have to wait. I mean, you'll have to wait. Must see TV.
Were bleeps used or not this time?
Yes, I'm sure they were. I mean, that's just kind of unfortunately part of the way I speak. But
that's not unfortunate, Bill.
No,
I don't care.
No, I don't know. I got a couple thumbs up, so I'm happy with it.
Okay, so as we start, you are extremely competitive, and I know that going into each year, you've got high hopes. The last 2 years, the regular seasons have been damn good. They've been really good. So as a guy who's won cups, you won 2 as a player, and then if I'm not mistaken, we're part of the Pittsburgh administration for 2. What is it in your mind that, because you've seen this before, what is the hump to get past, to go from a team that has become a pretty consistent playoff team and a team that certainly generates success in season? What is that next step to making a playoff run? Like what did you see at that time, and what do you want to see from this team?
I want to see growth. I want to see, well, first of all, we need the ability to get back to the playoffs. We need to show growth. We need to show like a little more maturity in our game. I think we can be better than we were last year. We've got a lot of the same guys coming back, which is good, because there's, like Dean said, there's not a whole lot of teaching to be done in the training camp. We can really kind of get to it and implement some new things. But like right now, like we're dealing with training camp now. We're not talking about getting over humps and everything. We have to deal with what's right in front of us. And so far, it's, look at our guys come in better and better shape every year. That's like step one. You can't have any weak links in that. It's the professionalism, the seriousness that they are giving to training camp. It's not just, we're coming here to regain our old spots and just kind of fall into place. No, this is a time to really approach it business-like and get serious about it. And our guys are doing that. Then we start Sunday in Colorado with preseason games. I want to see the seriousness to these games, the serious approach and competitiveness of it. I want to see guys, younger guys, take a step, like force us to make a really hard decision. If you want to have a position on our main roster, you have to go out and make it happen. We're not going to give anything to you. I want to see us be ready for game one. That's all I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about like jumping to the playoffs and trying to answer all the critics and crap like that. That doesn't do us any good. We have to be focused on the job that is right in front of us.
Bill, you mentioned players taking the next step. Obviously, Calen Addison gets a deal done here. You knew him back in your Pittsburgh days. He's played well in some small sample sizes, hasn't been able to maybe crack the ice full time. What is one missing piece that you haven't seen from Calen Addison's game that maybe you want to see him take the next step? What specifically do you want to see him from his game this season? Well,
to me, I think it's just his compete in the defensive zone. Offensively, I mean, Addie's fantastic. I mean, he's great on the power play. He can't let the D zone be an issue. And I think last year it got it's a matter. Addie's a tough little kid. Get out there and just battle and don't let your inexperience or anything like that be an issue. Just get out there and compete like we know he can. He's got a future here. I mean, we really like Addie. And
lost Bill Guerin there in the middle of an answer.
Darn it. It hung up for a second there. It came back, and then we lost it.
Here,
Internet.
That's okay. It happens.
Darn gremlins.
It happens. It
I know.
happens.
Are we good?
We're good
back
now.
Yeah,
you're
sorry.
back.
Yeah, so I think that's it in a nutshell for Addie. But we're hey, look, we're really happy he's signed. It's just time to move forward, play hockey.
How sick of you are you? And this is partially just a result of what has transpired with this league. How tired are you of hearing about the salary cap? Because I feel like it always defaults to that. And at this point in time, look, it didn't move. And I would guess that by this point too, Billy, there's teams way beyond you that are up against it because of that. But how tired are you? Because you don't really like excuses, and it comes across now as well, you can't do this, you can't. And I'm sure it wasn't fun not to be able to make more moves in the summer. But I'm just curious, in your mentality, how tired are you of the salary cap talk? Because it's been flat for a while, and it's mostly, that's the way of the world now, or been.
Yeah, I'm not tired of it. Hey, look, I wish we didn't have the situation that we were in, but we needed to do that. We accept it. It's not a big deal. It's not an excuse. It's a reality. There's a lot of realities that go along with the situation that we're in that I think people tend to forget, but that's our reality and we're fine with it. You know what? And me as the general manager, I'm okay with answering questions about it because it is the reality. I can't just say, please stop asking questions about it because, because it's really, I'm sick of it. It's really bothering me. Like, I don't have that luxury. And and I'm fine with it. I don't care.
With the reality of that salary cap too, Bill, obviously, yeah, the buyouts are still going to be lingering for another year. Has it made the reality of the salary cap, has it made your job in the offseason easier? Because there's just, I mean, and I'm not throwing shade at you here, but there's a little less to do. Or is your day-to-day still the same? What is it?
Did you golf more?
Yeah, did you golf more? I mean, did it make your reality Bill Guerin a lot easier?
No, it doesn't. It's not one of those things, well, can't do anything anyway, so I might as well go play golf. No, it's not that at all. I actually think it's made me a better general manager. I think it's making me more cap efficient. I think it's making our hockey operations stronger. I think it's making our scouts better. I think it helps us think out of the box a little bit more and attack things a different way. So, I'm not. I don't have less to do because of this.
What does I'm sure you were come on, you were golfing more, you're drinking way more beer. It's like I'm just gonna knock off a 3. Yeah. I'm just gonna knock off a 2 today. Yeah. See you guys later.
Hey, listen, I play plenty of golf, I drink plenty of beer, but it's not because I have less to do.
That's right.
I love it. What does Pat Maroon bring, both from a room standpoint, where I know he's good, but also a credibility standpoint, because he won what? A cup in St. Louis and then 2 more in Tampa. So I think he won three consecutive. Yeah, that's not too bad. What does he bring?
Hey, listen, the room stuff is great. I love Patty for that. It's the hockey. It's the championships. It's the playoff runs. You know what? Even more than that, it's the disappointments. Like, he's been there. Like, he's seen disappointment too. And how do you get out of that and get back to it? And how the whole thing just looks and what you have to go through. And, I mean, hey, look, the last thing you want is to have a guy in there with a bunch of cups and talking about this. I don't think that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be all action-based in just the way he operates. I mean, we've seen him play a ton of hockey over the years and in critical times, and he was always right in the thick of things. And hey, look, he's got the ability to play a hard-nosed game. He can play net front on the power play. He's got good hands. He can make a play. But the experience and the knowledge of what it takes is part of his. He's got all that in his toolbox.
Is it easier to, Bill, with adding a guy like Maroon to that room and not having to add a bunch of external players? You brought up the fact that Dean said we're not teaching, we're not having to bring in a whole slew of different guys. Does that make the chemistry in the locker room and just the continuity of the locker room feel that much stronger going into a season, knowing that it's mostly all the same group?
Yeah, I think you have to kind of recreate the energy, the chemistry. You got to get going again, and just, you can't take that for granted. You have to get out there and work at it. But yeah, the teaching aspect, we can kind of advance a little quicker than, if we had a ton of new faces, or, we were implementing like a whole bunch of new things, or had a new coach or something. It just helps to kind of get going a lot quicker.
So, Bill, as I recall, you guys actually had a really good preseason a year ago, and then got off to a slow start, and you brought Reeves in at that point. And I think you said something along the lines of, not timid, but the team hadn't been engaged, or it hadn't been, or an edge had been missing. Does Patty Maroon sort of fill that immediately? Because that seemed like a big part of your Reeves trade, was to get a guy who brought charisma, attitude, and a certain panache with him.
Yeah, I definitely. I see them kind of in the same light, different players, but that gamesmanship and swagger and belief in yourself and belief in the team, like all that stuff, willing to back everybody up and be there when the team needs you, like all that stuff, was part of the decision.
Reeves was a beaut, though. That guy was a beaut. I will say this, of all the guys in sports that I've covered, he might have been one of the top 10 characters, if not top 5.
Yeah, I mean, Revo is one of my favorite people. I mean, I love the guy. He did such a great job here for us, and I think that, you know, in talking to him, that was tough for both of us to kind of, you know, because we were in Pittsburgh together for a short time. But hey, listen, this is a business. We couldn't offer what Toronto was offering, and I'm happy for him. And that doesn't take away from anything that he did for the Minnesota Wild at all.
Without speaking for him, I guess, Bill, what do you make of Marc-Andre Fleury's future here? Do you feel like this might be the last season for him? Where do you kind of feel like Marc-Andre Fleury is feeling right now in his career? I mean, he's hockey royalty. He's won cups. He's done almost everything there is to do. What do you kind of envision the future of Marc-Andre looking like from your end?
Yeah, I don't want to speak for him, so I don't know. Like right now, you know, right now it's business as usual. You know, training camp's here and Flowers prepared. He's, you know, just like clockwork. He's going to buy another car. So things are just normal. Like it's just, you know, it's just normal. So let's just, I don't even want, we'll cross those bridges when we get to it, you know. So hey, we're expecting a lot out of him this year. That's what I want.
What type of car we talking about?
I don't know. He always comes in with something nice.
I'm sure he does.
He's got good taste. He's got good taste.
Oh, he's a very smart guy. No question about it. Hey, we're about 8 questions in, and nobody has broached the topic of Marco Rossi, not Rossi now, Rossi. Really good training camp, or I should say, really good preseason last year. Got off to a slow start and got sent down. So the yearly question with him now is this: where do you see him at 2023-24 as opposed to last season at this time when he did make the team, but he didn't stick on the team?
Yeah, I mean, he's ahead of where he was last year. I think making the decision to stay here for the summer and train was extremely important. And I think he's going to benefit a lot from that. You can see a difference in not just his physical appearance, but just the way he is. You know, he's been around a bunch of young guys this summer, and they've all had, one of the great summers here in Minnesota and had some fun. And I think even as much as the physical part is, the mental part is. And I think that for Marco, just getting more comfortable around the guys and where he is going to be really important. So I think he's going to do great. He's put in the work as always, but I think this year is different. And I believe in him. I think he's going to do great.
Bill, I wanted to ask you about this at the end of the season. Never got the chance to, but you've obviously been here now for 4 years, and you've seen multiple playoff runs from this franchise, and you've seen this fan base obviously show up, rightfully so, for every playoff game. But even last year, you hear them boo. You hear them boo at the end of Game 6, which I guess is a passionate fan base. But what is your overall assessment of this Wild fan base after you've been from Pittsburgh here? Now you're executive here in the state of hockey that loves their team. What have you gathered from the Minnesota sports fan, I guess, now that you've been in Minnesota here for almost 5 years?
You know what? They're a lot like us. Honestly, they are. All they want to do is win. That's it. They just want to win. And you know what? If you're a player, frustration is shown one way. If you're a GM, it's shown one way. If you're a fan, it's shown one way. Like, they're just like we are. They just want to win.
And the thing too, Billy, is, the Stars were an expansion team here in 67, 68, played here till 93, 94. The Wild, then an expansion team in 2000. And this market, incredibly enough, has never seen a cup. In fact, the only cup that we've seen raised in this market was at Met Center when your former team, although you weren't there yet, the Pittsburgh Penguins, after Game 6, paraded the cup around. So, I mean, to your point, I can only imagine what would happen if this market got a cup, because I think it would be absolutely off the hook.
I think it would be a lot of fun. I think it would be a lot of fun. I mean, yeah, it would be incredible. It really would be. I mean,
Hey,
I mean, hey, look, it's the Stanley Cup. It's great. It's the greatest trophy in all of sports, and hopefully one day we can deliver that. That's the goal. That's the only reason why we all do this.
What's that like to raise it?
It's pretty incredible. It's really tough to say. It's amazing. It really is. You can't describe it.
I would be afraid I'd drop it, but that's not going to be a concern for me since I won't win one. So that's the one thing I always think of is like, because there's stuff on the ice, right? Like confetti comes on the ice because you've won a cup. And I've always thought, what if you hit some of that crap and just went flying with that damn thing?
I've seen some close calls.
Have you?
Oh, yeah. With I think it was like confetti or something.
Oh.
It was Randy McKay hit it in 95 and he like toe picked and it was close.
Oh my God, that poor cup guy.
Well,
what's his name?
No, the kid fell for Colorado.
The Abs kid, yeah. Who went to the Blackhawks, right?
Yeah. Aubie Kubel.
Yeah, he dented it.
Yeah.
But I'm talking a fall. I'm talking a legit fall. Like if you toe pick.
Who was it? Colorado McDermott, I think he fell straight backwards in a bar with it. It's been through some tough times. It's got some dents.
Hey, just a few more for you. How happy were you to see, because I think he stayed here for the summer like Marco did. How happy did it make you that Kirill stayed here, I think, and worked out as well? Because I know that definitely was an issue this time last year, trying to get out of his homeland and all of that. I would take it that you probably slept a little bit easier with your superstar player being here for much of the offseason. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did. I you know what, honestly, I feel for Kirill in that aspect because that's frustrating. You know what? I mean, it's terrible what's going on in that war. And, honestly, he's a good young kid that has nothing to do with it and would probably like nothing more than just to go see his family in his hometown. And it's, this whole thing has made that really hard. So I can't imagine being kept away from my loved ones like that. But hey, look, that's the world we live in. It stinks.
Looks like he was bombing some drives though off the tee at a Royal Golf Club I saw the other day, Bill. He looked like he had a pretty good golf swing.
Yeah, he said he played twice this summer. I think that's a lot for him. And somebody said he hit one about 250 down the middle, so I'll take that.
Yeah, no kidding.
But this is the unfair thing, and it applies to you too. Guys that played, guys that came up as athletes and were just gifted and worked hard. I'm not saying you didn't work hard, okay? But you guys can go on the golf course, drive a golf ball. You guys can go hit a baseball. That's the thing. We'll never know what it's like to be an athlete like that, where your starting point is still damn good.
Yeah, just don't put a math book in front of me.
Okay.
Oh, dude, we can't do math either. Declan and I, Mackey's the only guy on our show that can do math. So look, that's the problem, is nothing applies to us that's really that good aside from trying to give hot sports takes.
No, it's really incredible to see some of the, and some guys are better at other things than others, but it's a pretty unique world that that I've been around for a long time, because you're right. You see some of these guys they're just great athletes, and they can do a lot. They can do a lot of different things.
Did that apply? I'm sure it did to Crosby as well, to Sid.
Yes.
Okay, so he could just do it. Of course he could. Don't know why I asked that question.
Yeah. I remember he called me one time. It was what the heck was it? During the season in 2009, and he called me to go play tennis with him and Jordan Stahl and Tyler Kennedy. I'm like, guys, it's like our day off. Like, I'm 38 years old. You guys are 22 and 21. I don't have the energy, but I went.
Okay.
And I'm an okay tennis player, but he was really good. I mean, he could like really serve it and bend it and all that stuff. And I was like, holy cow. Like, what am I doing here?
Well, I mean, you're old at the time, so it's impressive that you showed up probably. Last question for me. How much will Dumba be missed, and have you guys decided who's going to inherit the A that he had on his jersey?
Matt will be missed. Of course he will. I mean, he's you know what? Matt's built a great legacy here, on and off the ice. And he's all he's done. You know, a lot of people in this world just take, you know, Matt's a giver. He gave a lot to the organization. He gave a lot to the community. He gave a lot to his teammates. We'll miss him. We'll miss his energy. And, but you know, like I said, this is the world we live in, and sometimes you have to move on. And, we will replace, that A on somebody else's jersey, but we'll keep that confidential, obviously.
I think he might wear 14, but that's just a guess on my part. That's just a total guess. Look at that. Look at that stone face. Can't get anything.
You're not going to get it.
You know I won't tell you.
I know you won't. I know you won't. All right, Bill Guerin, thanks much, and talk to you soon, okay?
Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Enjoy
Billy.
training camp. See you later. Bye. That was Wild GM Bill Guerin, as always. Great, although he won't tell me who's going to get the A. I'm guessing it's going to be Heck, but...
Did you write that down earlier this year?
I think I might have, and I think I might have been trying to get the point right now, but that is beside the point, Declan Goff. That's beside the point. But what's not beside the point is what you are looking at right now, because as lake season throttles down, trust the world's largest Bennington dealer, Miller Marine and Power Lodge, to protect your passion. Call today about Power Lodge Miller Marine's limited time winterization special. They're offering free storage with the purchase of a new boat. Get double the value if that new boat is a luxurious Bennington with unbeatable employee pricing stacked on top of rebates. This is the best time of the year to buy, and there is nothing wrong with fall water on the lakes with beautiful color change cruises. Needing a power upgrade, they'll store that new motor for you too. Prepare now and bundle up your boat for a worry-free launch next spring. That's right. Pontoon passion starts at Miller Marine and Power Lodge. Free winter storage with the purchase of a new boat from our buddies at the Lodge and Miller Marine. Throttle therapy on and off the water at millermarine.com, powerlodge.com. Check them out and tell them that Judd's Hockey Show sent you. All right, Declan, your thoughts on what we just heard?
Very interesting stuff. I really wanted to ask him about the whole Minnesota sports fan scene. Minnesota sports fan scene. That's a mouthful to say out. Just because, you know, it got a little weird at the end where some people, Minnesota sports fans, I feel like get uncomfortable with obviously tension. And for these Wild fans, they want to see this team go deep in the playoffs. You know, it's weird, Judd. You talk to me all the time about like, what are you going to do when the Twins are in the playoffs, Dex? You're going to go nuts. You're going to make the fiance leave the house and all this stuff. And I have never gotten there with the Wild, who have been as even more playoff games than the Twins. But that fan base is also pissed. That fan base is also tired of the same thing. So I really wanted to hear his kind of opinion on that as a former player. Now he's been an executive. He's been here for almost 5 years. So I was interested on what he wanted to say there.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to, the thing with Bill is he's not going to make excuses. And so I think he was pissed off too. In fact, I think the end of the season press conference where he sort of went at Russo about the whole thing, I think that was sort of a byproduct of him being ticked off too. And the players, if you go back to the quotes after Game 6 against Dallas, and they should have been, but what I think Ryan Hartman said something along the lines of the fans deserve more. And Spurgeon said, this sucks. Right. And so, I think that the team feels the same way. And I guess that's why I asked the question. And I get it. Executives and coaches and players take everything day by day by day, or at least that's what they're going to talk about. But that's why I asked the question. It's like, what does it look like? Because if you look back at the last two teams, Dex, 113 points, franchise high 2 years ago, right? 103 points after a bad start, which again was third place. That's not bad in the Central Division. But those are two different teams. Like, they were constructed a little bit differently. And so that's why my question is like, for a guy that's got 4 cup rings in Bill Guerin, 2 as a player, 2 as an executive with Pittsburgh, like, what does that look like? What's that hump? Like, cause he sort of knows, I mean, he's seen it. Like, he's been to the top of the mountain. So it's not like talking to, Derek Falvey, who, I think his team, I think Cleveland went to a World Series with him there, but he wasn't, he didn't win one. And so that's why I'm curious, like, what does the top of the mountain look like and how do you get there? And is it roster construction, Declan, or is it more the people?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm curious about. And like, not that this guy is going to be a top 6 guy, because he's not, but does Pat Maroon, who's got 3 consecutive cup rings, does his presence bring a swagger or a confidence that this team lacked? Like, that's what I'm curious about. What does that look like when you start that run? And to go back to last year, Declan, the Florida Panthers barely made the playoffs.
And they
barely made the playoffs.
And they beat the President's Trophy winner in 7 games. So yeah, it's very bizarre. But yeah, I mean, it's just good to hear from him, and it's good to just get an actual start on this season because of I know we were being a little cheeky there with the salary cap stuff, but the hockey offseason already is kind of a tough one to sled in terms of from our side of the content creation, and for them having just limited amount of moves and money to make moves. It's nice that training camp's finally here, and I'm curious to see the season start here.
Well, and I'm personally sick of the cap because it stayed flat for so long. Like, I think I asked that from my own frustration, because this is ridiculous. Like, you've got a new TV contract. I know everyone dealt with the pandemic. I get that. But you've lowballed these players for so long. That's what frustrates me, is this thing. And I think it's gonna go up next season. But I mean, this has been ridiculous. Parisi and Suter cost you a lot. I understand that, but come on, Gary Bettman, come on, league. I know you're making money. You're making more money than you can count right now. But let's get the cap up so that for fans, it's more fun.
Yeah, and I also wanted to just ask him too about how he felt about the ESPN TNT deal that's been in place now for 3 seasons. I think we're in year 3 of this or at least entering year 3.
We're going to year 3.
Just to hear his thoughts on that too, because that's really an interesting spot of them being very comfortable with NBC Sports. And I don't think any of us were necessarily down on NBC Sports or thought they did a poor job. But now that it's been entering year 3 of a new deal, and it's been a little clunky at times, but I think in general, it's still good for the sport for him to be on these new platforms. That was the only thing I wasn't able to ask him about, but at the same time, it's just, I think it's good for the game in general.
Well, TNT is great, right?
They are the best. Yes.
TNT is great. ESPN, in my opinion, is not that great, but the amount of coverage that they put on Plus, and the fact that the package of games from around the league is available on Plus almost justifies that. They don't give it the platform it deserves. And I don't think their studio show has been great by any means. And I think it's been a weird mix. But I think that the ESPN Plus platform, Declan, is so good, and it's not as expensive, if I'm correct. But I mean, TNT has been gold. It's the best. I think TNT is the best U.S. carrier I've ever seen. And I date back to when I started to watch hockey. The USA Network carried it, and that's before studio shows were a big deal. And they did a decent job. But I mean, TNT to me, I'm not sure your opinion on this, but TNT to me, I have been really pleasantly surprised and shocked that they come, in my opinion, fairly close to matching their NBA studio show. Like, Biz is great. Liam McHugh's turned out to be great. I mean, the NBA on TNT studio show is the best that there is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I've been really pleasantly surprised. I think TNT does a great job. And Biz, pretty much single-handedly got Babcock in Columbus fired.
Yes, he did.
He's been incredible. I mean, he is really good. So
yeah, I think it can be better for sure. It's just nice to be on the platform. I mean, for God's sakes, Judd, I remember from my side of things, post lockout, I had the Versus Network. I mean, it's come a long way from the OLN and Versus Network and from what it used to be. So yeah, just glad hockey's back, man. We're gonna have Judd's hockey show. We'll have AJ Fredrickson back in the fold here soon too, and Jesse will obviously join us. So it'll just be good. It'll be good to have more bullets in our chamber to fire.
Absolutely. Thanks to Bill. I'm sure that Mr. Guerin will join us again throughout the course of the season, because he's always kind enough. Yeah, you can go golf with him. I'll sit in the cart and drink Surly's. Take us home, Declan Goff.
Hit the subscribe button for Daily Minnesota Sports Entertainment and Pass Shoot Score.